Yeah.
Hey, everybody. In this episode, AI explains not just what a chemical may do, but why.
And you can use it by fusing chemical behavior and weather and sensor and health data, and that's going to convert it into a prioritized risk list.
On scene, AI's value really peaks when SDS data is weak, conditions shift, or your time is constrained.
And you're going to sharpen your decisions on zone monitoring, PPE, sampling, control, and decon without even replacing your human judgment.
And we are going to show you when properly used, it enhances situational awareness grounded in valid science and experience.
Let's listen. You know the worst part around getting on a hazmat scene?
When it's 2 o'clock in the morning and you get out of the rig and your hair looks like this, a rat's nest.
Yeah, it's that, but also uncertainty. You have no idea what's in the air.
Yeah, it's just assuming that, like, it's a chemical, right? That doesn't really cut it. You need answers and you need them fast.
And that's where the Explorer comes in. Real-time chemical ID and quantification right in the field.
Yeah, no more of this, oh, it's probably something, it might be bad. It's going to tell you exactly what you have and how much.
Which means you can set up your safety zones like an adult and not a rookie guessing where to put the tape.
Yep, using defensible quantitative data in just seconds, it makes your decision making a hell of a lot easier.
So no more waiting around for an answer, just a solid life-saving intel.
Check them out check out the Explorer at 908devices.com. You know what really stresses me out on hazmat runs, Bob?
The part where everybody stands around saying it smells like bitter almonds.
Exactly, right? It smells like it's this. Everybody's just guessing. There's no actual tactics.
Well, that's why Teledyne FLIR Defense built a detection tool so we can stop doing that. Real sensors for real CBRNE threats.
And they've been at it for almost 30 years, helping responders know exactly what they're dealing with.
Hazmat, homeland safety, public safety, ugly scenes, clear answers.
Because the more you know, the smarter you can operate.
Check out Teledyne FLIR Defense, any threat, anywhere, without the mystery.
And as we promised, we were going to look into a battery solution for fires. And while many companies have put their products in front of us, there's only one noteworthy one that we like because it is shown us to extinguish lithium-ion battery fires. It works on multiple classes of fires, it prevents the fire spread, and it keeps the lithium-ion battery from reigniting.
And before that, keyboard warrior fought cap locking, asking for proof. The link's going to be in the show notes below for UL Class A and B, as well as the BSI for 10 categories, including the lithium-ion batteries.
As everything else that we talk about on the show, we've put it through our field tests, and I have to tell you, like, honest to God, we were impressed with the results. Now, we suggest that you do your own myth busting, always. It comes in a variety of options, so it's going to integrate into whatever process that you may have. You can access more information by checking out Fire Suppression Solutions, or go ahead and click on the link in the show notes.
Here we are. We're back. New show.
Yes, we are.
Oh, we're back.
I almost didn't want to do the AI 3 because I wanted to talk about the conference, but we've had so much not interaction, but so many people and so many downloads. So many people are interested in this topic that I didn't feel like we should wait another week before we release our final episode on the AI.
Yeah, which I agree.
Yeah, which so starting off. We're going to hit some of the topics that we talked about earlier, but we're also going to dive a little bit deeper into how the AI can push its expertise into what you're dealing with. Like, we talked about behavioral prediction, but we can now take a look and dive a little bit deeper into that behavioral prediction, right? AI has the ability to interpret, not just kind of give It's not just going to be like, this is what I think is going to happen. It's going to interpret the data and it's going to explain the data. The AI systems are designed to highlight why the property or the behavior or the prediction is made. So you're not just getting like a consultant who's going to turn around and go, it's going to go that way. It's going to sit there and fully explain to you what's going on, why things are doing the way they are. This is important to us. We always want to do this, right? Because we have the ability to understand all of the context in front of us. The AI can only understand the context that we put into it. So if somebody sees a reason for something that may not actually exist or truly fit the circumstance, then it's up to us to go ahead and be like, yeah, no, maybe this isn't going to isn't going to fit. Like, for example, let's say we were linking a high vapor pressure with a specific functional group within the molecule. The AI can do that, right? We don't have the vapor pressure, but we have the molecule. It's going to punch us out a vapor pressure that it thinks is happening.
We grew up on Cameo, and I don't think Cameo was bad. I still don't think Cameo was bad, but it was like for people that were we'll say meh level hazmat techs, there was like, oh my God, I could take a chemical and add it to another chemical and get a very light predictive model of what it is. But we are talking about something completely different at this point. Imagine being able to put in not only one or two or maybe in three chemicals, but saying, hey, I'm from Brooklyn, New York. It looks at the weather and says, oh, he's 74 feet off the ground, right? Which elevation, the temperature, the humidity, you can say weather, you can say, and it says not only like, okay, the synthesis, it's not going to only what will happen, but so I'm trying to think how to say this. So how urgent and severe is the risk? It can give you like which steps of the Gembo are imminent. It can even predict real-time sensor data, health risks for people. You got to think bigger when you're programming these things.
Yeah, and we're not saying that AI is replacing people in any way, shape, or form, but what it's doing is it's adding things to your thought process that you may not have thought of. And I think that's the biggest way to look at AI is like, okay, it's giving me additional things to think about and how to think about them. But there are limitations on the AI. And we want to make sure that we are very, very clear that AI is in no way, shape, or form an all-in-one tool. It doesn't replace your science office. It doesn't replace human thinking, because the AI predictions, they are only as good as the training data that they're working off of. So if it's turning around and there's poor quality in the data set, you're going to get poor quality out. If you don't give it the right guide rails as to where to go for information, it could look at something that is completely false or maybe old or outdated or something like that. And your product out is going to be just as good as your product in.
We have said this over and over and over. And I want everybody to kind of just make sure that this like sinks in. Using or over-relying or whatever kind of wording you want to say on those predictive outputs without verification can be dangerous. It is, I don't want to say a loose cannon, but it's a loose cannon that can hallucinate. It's gotten dramatically better in the last, like, I'll say 6 months, where you could feed it in. But again, I don't want to, we don't have the time for everything, but there are ways to kind of guardrail this thing. But predictions that you get must be validated against like the traditional authoritative sources that we use before you make a tactical decision. So it's just like picking your PPE or doing that kind of thing. It's getting there, but I use it more for the research and thought development than the actual tech ref. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah, because we can't use this as a tech ref or a resource or a science officer in any way, shape, or form. Remember, it's part of the risk assessment process. It isn't the risk assessment process. You should be maybe sometimes looking at AI as that person to help combat confirmation bias, right? Where I'm going to sit and argue with it. We do this all the time. We call them struggle sessions, right, Bob? Where we have an idea and we fight with AI back and forth over thought processes, and that should be how you're looking at all this.
I agree. We have a couple of possibilities, right? You can do some chemical profiling with things like SDSs or Chemtrack, because that is all what you would consider open source. It's out there, but the information, let's say, is incomplete, right? You need some stuff like, hey, I have a chemical that is green, it's a gas, it's that. It can start doing that, and it can generate like a comprehensive property summary, right? Including, like, let's say, hazard severities and indicators that would be relevant to what you're doing.
Now, as fire departments, we're not really used to site safety plans. But if you've ever been involved in a long-term operation, say multiple day, multiple week, multiple month hazmat incident, then site safety plans are going to be something that you need to consider. And as a firefighter, we very rarely understand them, and AI can help us with this. Now, if you're in the industrial side or you're a hygienist or anything along those lines, then this is right up your alley. Like, this could help you save hours upon hours of design work on your site safety plans, because AI can help you draft that initial site safety plan. It can help draft those initial IAP components, producing objectives, hazards, controls, zones, right? Where's my hot zone, my warm zone, my cold zone? It can create an accountability plan, a communications plan, emergency signaling, rehab triggers, considerations for all different possibilities. It can cleanly create that site safety plan that is needed, and it can do it based upon the NFPA, can do it based upon OSHA. It does a very good job of creating this structure that you can follow.
It also, I don't want to say disregard what the ERG does, because it's pretty standard. It's like 75 for solid, 150 for liquid, 300 for gas. But if it's harnessing and has the collective data of the ERG already built into it, and you give it a little bit more stuff, right? You give it a little bit more like, hey, I want the guidance, I want predictive behavior, I'm going to give you some on-scene conditions. It could almost customize the isolation perimeter. It could give you more accurate protective action zone suggestions. I'm not saying it's kind of like when you can exceed a law, you can't go less than a law. Well, it can enhance the ERG's, what I would consider like kind of rudimentary on-purpose information, and give you better stuff like staging and parking and decon corridor placement and stuff like that.
But again, right, we have to make sure that we're plugging ourselves into this process. AI can show us what the assumptions are as far as where the materials are going to go, say in like a plume release, right? We can go on to Peak, just like we go on to Peak and we can get the plume modeling. We don't just turn around and take its word for it. We send people to confirm the theory. So, this is how AI plugs in. It doesn't become part of. And remember, as we go through and you use AI, it may not remember that the ERG is specifically designed for the initial phase of the transport, and it could be prompting you to do things based upon the ERG when you're past those initial phases. So be careful how it interacts with the data.
I'm going to say something, because it's not part of this little conversation here, but it's something that just popped in my head, is that within the thread of your chat, you can say, hey, what changed? Like the wind shifted, or the leak rate changed, or container temperature trends, or whatever you want to say, and it will update the risk. It is possible in today's AI that it does have cross-chat recollection. So imagine you ran like a rad nuke explosion, and then the next time you're like, yeah, I got some talc on the floor. It might be like, well, it could be radioactive. You're like, what the hell are you talking about? Oh. It's possible to do that. So, yeah, keep There is settings in whatever AI you're going to be using to kind of prevent that, but I would definitely GPT how to not GPT that. So,
yeah. Especially if the team's using it for other things, right? Like I'm not gonna lie and sit there that nobody's jumping on ChatGPT to find out where lunch is going to be, right? Like what are the reviews for this halal restaurant and all that kind of weird information, training information. People just doing things out of curiosity starts to accumulate within your chat. That's a really good point. I never even thought about bringing that up.
Oh, I got a couple more. But first, today's episode is brought to you by Rigaku Analytical Devices, who are the folks who've been perfecting the 1064 nanometer Raman longer than some of you have been doing hazmat.
Yeah, they just launched their 4th generation handheld analyzer, the Icon X. It's built specifically for real-world stuff that the hazmat teams have to deal with, right? We're talking about like the dirty powders, the mixed materials, the dyes, the colors, all those things that throw all our other meters into a full-blown temper tantrum.
We were just playing with it. The 1064 nanometer leads reduced fluorescence, so you get fast, reliable chemical ID in under a minute instead of sitting there watching that blank screen of death, wondering what went wrong.
And this is an entire new platform, right? This isn't like just an upgrade to the software. It's an entire toolbox. It's supporting all new accessories, including standoff analysis, so you can get your answers without being too close.
And if you want an analyzer that has been evolving right along the world of hazmat, check out Rigaku's newest Raman at rigakuanalytical.com. You know what I love about the city?
Almost getting run over by every single delivery driver.
Yes, but also the e-scooter gangs.
Yeah, put all those delivery people together in one spot because nothing screams hazmat like a moped with a battery that's about to go nuclear.
Right, that's where Obexian FR saves the day.
It is lightweight, mobile-friendly, and designed for first responders because the last thing we need is extra weight in the back when things heat up.
And it's a third-party tested to lower those toxic gases below the ideal H.
Which means that you can actually breathe while you're putting out that scooter fire.
And no more, if you need more, actually, Obexian comes by the pallet or certified poly drum kits.
Which is perfect when you arrive on scene and you're like, holy crap, we're going to need a lot more of this.
So protect your team and your lungs and go to thehazmatguys.dgeo.com. That's thehazmatguys.dgeo.com.
All right, so we have chatted a lot about the research part of it and the predicting behavior part of it, but we really haven't talked too much about how the AI can actually help change our operation and help change how we do things. And we can use AI for monitoring strategy. We can use them for sensor selection, and we can use them for interpreting those results. AI can recommend a monitoring plan just based upon the hazard class and the environment. So going into it, it can be part of the conversation in which we're talking about what we're going to want to detect, right? Is this toxic? Is it flammable? Am I looking for an oxidizer, corrosives? Are there radiological indicators? Am I grabbing my FTIR? Am I grabbing my PID? Am I grabbing my multigas? Maybe I need a colorimetrics tube or radiation detection. And then what cross sensitivities to expect. All these things that we would normally like to know before we go in. So we can take the information and have a complete guide in front of us to talk about and converse as we make entry.
Even when you do make entry and you come out, I'm telling you, we've all done this. I don't care how good you are. You come out of the scene going, why the hell is my meter telling me this? There is no reason for this to be showing, or like just being confused in general, right? If you say, hey, listen, I have, this model meter, these sensors, they were installed on this date and that kind of stuff, it can flag causes of bad data. Like, maybe your sensor was poisoned or saturated or humidity. That could be the reason why. Or maybe oxygen deficiency or false positives or calibration drift. Basically, what I'm saying is your output is going to be a combination of probable causes And then it can also say, hey, why don't we prove it out by doing these tests?
Are you a D team guy? Like, I'm talking below C team. Are you a D team guy? Because you can use AI to help you with all the stuff that's making you a D team player, like bump tests, calibration intervals, or the if this fails, what do I do next? Now, anybody can use them, right? Your A team guy can use them as well. But for all those little things, that it can help create this kind of this logic trail for you to kind of catch up and not drag your team down.
One of the things that people picked up different little gems from our last ones, but one of the things is, you know how you go to, like, you get a manifest and sometimes it has like terrible doctor handwriting, and you're talking to the truck driver and stuff like that. These AIs, especially in the mobile format, have the ability of utilizing the camera and voice notes. So you could start, and I understand there's operational security, there might be legality to it, like if there's an accident and that kind of stuff, but imagine having the ability of taking a screenshot of a manifest and it typing it out for you, even with handwriting. And I'm talking about shitty handwriting it'll do. Voice notes, it'll give you time-stamped logs. It can highlight different trends. It can says, hey, the rising LEL and the plume edge, all types of stuff. It picks up patterns incredibly well.
And it also allows us to be kind of a safety chief, so to speak, right? AI can definitely work in that realm of like, hey, is this going to go bad, or are we going to miss this, or here's something to look for to make sure things don't go sideways. It can also help us with PPE selection. Now, just because it can doesn't mean I would. But it can assist us in making selections between encapsulating versus non-encapsulating versus structural firefighting. It can give us the why, which is always really good. I don't know. I'm gonna just trust AI to tell me what suit I go into. I know this is a conversation that me and Bob have had a lot, and trying to figure out, like, okay, where can AI actually give us like solid information, and we don't think that it telling you what suit to wear is lands within that category yet, but it can definitely give us good information on the suits.
Yeah, just to be totally clear, we've talked about this. We are not into believing AI for the PPE, because you can make this strong argument that is the last line of decisions before we send two guys down range in a upgraded level of PPE. That is like, that is life and death stuff. Me figuring out why is this 33%, that's kind of like, oh, I have a question kind of thing. So don't off-grade that. But it can say, hey, listen, you're going down range. You might see these degradation or incompatibility warnings. If you see, let's say, swelling or softening or discoloration or tackiness, right? Boy, my suit's sticky. That might be the chemical interacting it. Where if you didn't know it, you should be like, boy, it must be a sticky atmosphere in here. No, if it says, hey, if you got stickiness, it might be coming through.
Yep. And again, for the D team guy, which is See, AI is where I really worry about when it comes to the D and the C team, because as much as it can help those guys that are not the best, it can also, I personally think, do the most harm, because they're going to start to rely on it and they don't have the capability of understanding when it's wrong. But it can be used for doffing error protection, right? AI can set up like a step-by-step doffing checklist, so that things aren't done out of order or out of mistake. Now, should we have that anyway? Yeah, we should probably have that anyway. And I would hate to see people start to rely on AI in lieu of training, where they turn around and they go, yeah, well, we don't really have to go over this because, we could just generate a checkoff list in the moment. Training is more than just remembering the steps to doing something. It's learning how to do them properly. And AI can't make you better at, say, a suit cutout. It can't make you better at understanding how to wipe down the hazard areas of CPC when somebody's about to get out. So, there are massive limitations, and we really want to stress that.
One of the things that we do, I'll say quasi a lot, is sampling, right? And sampling versus evidence quality packaging, right? AI can help you decide on the matrix. What matrix you're going to do? You're going to do air. You're going to do liquid, solid, wipe. Where to sample? How many to sample? How many? What is the customary chain of custody needs? And this is all mapped out. I know NFPA doesn't like this, but if they think they sell it, but if they think that there are no copies on the internet, you're out of your minds. There are things in NFPA 470, such as the collecting hazmat samples station themes, that it will guide you through it based upon the NFPA.
What's really cool about the AI, and that it will work great, is something like container catability and preservation guide, right? Like, how can I take this evidence, this chemical, and best preserve it for law enforcement or for being able to study later? AI is phenomenal with that, right? So it's gonna say what sample containers are the best. How am I going to do this to preserve it? And it can give me step by step on making sure the labeling is proper and what you need for your SOPs. If you don't have SOPs, it can jump to NFPA. If you don't have the SOPs, it can jump to any other document that you want to insert, and then your people are working off of what you want them to do.
And just to follow up on the chain of custody, because it's like there's a lot of documentation, right? It could point you at the right forms. It can point you at the right labels. It can complete the narrative, like the where, when, how it was collected, what PPE were used, what was the hazards, who was the custody transferred to. All that in form, it can be done.
Now, I'll be honest with you, right? Sampling was not something that is huge on my list, but the fact that it can do the container compatibility, that is something that is useful for an operation that we do all the time, which is container overpacking, transfer, and leak control options. AI is phenomenal and will be phenomenal at suggesting the type of overpack material that is needed for chemical compatibility. So it can suggest whether or not we should overpack, patch, dome clamp, what kind of kit that we want to use. Do we want to try to isolation valves, transfer versus containment? All of these things and the chemical compatibility for the tools and the containers that are used, that is right up AI's alley.
And one thing you got to remember, guys, even if it's like, hey, it can generate these lists and these things, you got to, when I get my mission and I'm going down to do it, it's now time to execute the mission, not to be like coached in our ear. I don't think it's very far off before we get like augmented reality glasses or something like that, where I can have different things on a field of view kind of thing, but it can do things for you maybe at this point in time. Okay, I have my understanding. I can get tool staging lists and who's on what role, like entry and backup and stuff. The go, no go checklist before I commit. In the future, and I don't think this is very far off, you're going to get like those meta glasses kind of things, or ski goggles, whatever, that are going to have complete canopies of like information.
Yeah, I mean, as of this day, what is today? This is 2/7/26, right? There's already if you sit there and you think, oh, I don't want to wear like the giant clunky stuff, there are glasses just like these glasses that have heads-up displays in them. They look like regular sunglasses, and they produce a world of information. And it's quite possible that with these glasses, at some point very soon, we'll be able to do like hey, this isn't working. Can you give me suggestions? So I do a dome cover clamp and I describe to it how I put it on, or I use the glasses for it to look at, and it can give me suggestions as to why I'm still leaking, things that I can do to make that leak better, maybe things that I didn't think about. So these are all the places that AI can fit into a leak type scenario.
I think we'll leave it there, and we probably have enough for one more because we got some pretty good stuff to sweep up.